Okay. Molly.
Yeah.
I think this is the first time you've gone on one of our last days, Molly, huh?
Yeah, I usually go like. It was really different. I was like, I have a lot of time. Think about
What do you want to do? Yeah. Okay, everyone ready? Oh, dang, you could have worn the jacket for your speech. Sorry, what were we gonna say?
Well, I'll just make hearts on this because it just feels really harsh.
I meant it as in lovingly, you know.
Very simple.
Okay, we're ready.
I'm sure everybody in this room understands what it's like to want to feel loved, accepted, and understood. Feeling understood is something that I've chased my whole life from my teachers, my family, and my friends. But for me, it's something that's a little more difficult to come by. And the reason for that is I have obsessive compulsive disorder. And when I say that, you might feel startled. You might think, oh, she's a neat freak or she's a germaphobe. And that's where the misunderstanding starts between you and me. The misconception that society has surrounding obsessive compulsive disorder or OCD is pretty harmful. And the way we think about the disorder needs to change in order for people with OCD to feel more comfortable discussing their struggles. Today, I'm going to explain to you why OCD is perceived the way it is today. And I'm going to explain which parts of those stereotypes are inaccurate and what other parts are accurate. And at the end, I'm going to explain why changing our mind about how we view OCD can benefit society as a whole. First, I'm going to talk about why we think of OCD the way we do. Now, when I think of a celebrity or somebody in the limelight who has OCD, I think of Howie Mandel. He was the first person I ever heard of who had OCD. And he is publicized to be a huge germaphobe. I've heard a story where he dropped his medication on the ground and refused to take it because it could have germs on it. This germophobia is actually called contamination OCD. Contamination OCD is the correct word for it. There are many different types of OCD, and according to Owen Kelly, an expert on anxiety and other psychological disorders, in 2022, he wrote in an article, the ways in which OCD symptoms are experienced varies widely between person to person. Not realizing that there are many different types of OCD is one of the problems people have when they think of the disorder. They just stereotype it into one specific kind of thing, and that's where the problems start to begin. Another problem that I've seen in how people perceive OCD is thinking of it as an adjective. So I'm sure everybody here has heard someone say, I'm so OCD. Yeah, I've heard that so many times. It's a joke, sure, but people don't realize that when they say it, it sort of minimalizes what people with OCD face every day. An undergraduate researcher, Werner, found in 2021 that while individuals may poke fun when they notice an item out of symmetry or their excessive cleaning is due to OCD, this is not the full reality of the disorder. And I find that to be very true. It really downplays what I struggle with on a day-to-day basis. And so while I know when you say it, you might think, oh, it's not a big deal. I'm just looking for something to say that explains how I'm feeling. I encourage you to be more precise with your language and say something more accurate, like, I'm such a perfectionist, or I really enjoy being tidy. Moving on to how OCD is portrayed in the media. That's another thing that makes our perception of OCD kind of wonky. Quote, characters with OCD in TV shows only portray the compulsive side of this disorder and miss the obsession of the or fear and distress that precede the compulsion. And that was written by another anxiety specialist, Renee Mua, in 2020. Essentially, that means like they only talk about the action that comes out of being of having obsessive compulsive disorder. What goes on behind the scenes in somebody's mind is they'll have what's called an intrusive thought, or just like a bad feeling that makes them feel like they have to commit a compulsion. That's called magical thinking in OCD. It's called magical thinking OCD. For example, someone with magical thinking OCD might think, if you step on a crack, you literally will break your brother's back. And that's kind of a problem. This is how I perceive OCD, but it's not actually the reality of how OCD works. OCD affects my daily life. It's like having a needy friend who won't leave you alone, just constantly following behind you. For me, it affects me. I can't drive because my intrusive thoughts get in the way. I have a skin picking disorder. Because of that, I feel the need to compulsively pick scabs. These are the parts of OCD that people don't talk about. So when you say things like, I'm so OCD, it sort of downplays everything that people with OCD feel every day. To wrap things up, today you've learned that there are different types of OCD that affect people in different ways. And there are many different ways where we can make simple switches to fix the way we talk about OCD that would make people with OCD a lot more comfortable talking about what they struggle with on a day-to-day basis. Changing our perception of the disorder will lead people with OCD to have a better life. It will help people with OCD feel like they're not as ostracized and stigmatized like I might feel right now. So simple swaps like that can lead to a big change and help people with OCD. Thank you very much.
6:03. Okay, thank you, Michael, for being here.